and looking forward to it. Glad to have you along. Man, what a trip, what a time, what a lot to talk about as the Indiana Hoosiers roll on. We're back with more. We're ready to get it started because
Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world. Time! 3 on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game! Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni! Float game for the win! Ayla's gone! Goodbye, touchdown, Indy! Woo! IU! America! They got a football team now!
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Oh, now, here's Jim Coyle.
Kind of a mentality. And so seeing our fans, though, at the end of the game as we were on the field, just looking up into the crowd was something I'll never forget. And I've been around IU a long, long time.
Scott, one thing that amazed me is 5 years ago when Indiana lost to Tennessee in the Gator Bowl, It wasn't the loss, but it was. I remember distinctly 80% of that stadium was Tennessee orange. Today, 80% of the Rose Bowl was 80% Indiana without question, and I'm shocked, and I cover Indiana all the time.
Jim, I can't say it enough. Our fans have been unbelievable, and I know it's a big sacrifice to come out here. I mean, it costs a lot of money, a lot of time, and to see our fans show up like that and to see our team respond and have a day like this, it meant so much to everybody. But for me to say thank you to our fans doesn't even adequately express what their support means to us.
Welcome back. Hey, Jim Coyle here with you. Glad to be back. That was Indiana Athletics Director Scott Dustin, and beaming with pride as he should be, because let me tell you, that was the most amazing thing I personally have ever seen in Indiana athletics. I'm not talking about the win. I'm talking about the fact that 80% of that freaking stadium, the Rose Bowl, was filled with Indiana fans. And I'm not kidding. I was on the field. I could tell. Alabama had like 3 sections in the corner, and that was it. I was shocked. I was beyond belief. And I used the analogy that I remember. I think I may have the games mixed up. It may have been the Outback Bowl. I can't remember. But anyway, I remember before the game, I kept seeing all these IU fans. I'm thinking, wow, they're going to have a nice showing. We got into the stadium. Oh, hell no. It was 80% orange. That was the case for the Rose Bowl with Indiana. But that's mesmerizing because this is against the 18-time national champion SEC Alabama Crimson Tide. Well, the tide kind of rolled out. It was a low tide, baby. Definitely not a high tide. Hoosiers, Rose Bowl champs. Not only that, they're in the Final Four of the college football playoffs, the semifinals, moving on to the Peach Bowl in Atlanta, where we'll take back off for that. I'll tell you, I know everybody thinks it's all glamorous and getting to do this stuff. It'll wipe you out. The travel is tough. I wish we were traveling on those direct flights that the coaches teams get. Man, that would be nice. But you've got to give it up to the Indiana fans. I mean, it blows my mind that they really showed out in that magnitude. I mean, we're talking, it literally, it's blowing my mind every time I think about it. I was there. I saw it and it blew my mind. Then I can't stop thinking about it. There are several things. How in the hell did they get their hands on that many Rose Bowl tickets? I'm like, they sucked them all up from all directions. I'm wearing my Rose Bowl shirt today. I got a Rose Bowl shirt. Man, the weather leading up to it sucked, but the rain went away, and that was great. It had not rained on the Rose Bowl in 70 years. So they were able to keep that streak alive, although the field, well, they may say it was 70% an IU crowd, but I think it was more than that. Seriously, I could judge by, but I think that someone told me that there was a number of 59,000 that traveled. Well, if there was 59,000 that traveled there from back here, I know that there was another 11,000 that are from out there. Hell, I talked to a guy that came in from Mexico City. I was out front waiting when the team arrived, talking to some fans, a lot of people from Bloomington, but there was a guy from as far away as Mexico City. So, yeah, crazy fun. Please stop shouting. Woo! Man, usually hear that we're too low. Sorry, man. It's a great day. Back it off a little bit. Got just all jacked up. But hey, I hope that for those of you that did get to go, you had a good time. For those of you that didn't get to go, well, you've got another opportunity coming up. The Peach Bowl within driving distance in Atlanta. And then, of course, Miami after that. And then, of course, Indiana pulling in a boatload of recruits, as is expected. Josh Hoover, of course, at quarterback was expected. I was chatting with Josh all along. Well, and I will get him on, but I'll tell you this. He is another guy that Indiana fans are just going to love because of the person he is. This is the kind of guy that Kurt Cignetti brings in. It's not just his talent. Josh Hoover is a great kid, a great guy. I got to stop calling him a kid. Hell, he's a college graduate now. But I've been, talking to Josh since he was a commit at IU, and I kept up with him. During his career at TCU, he had a great run, and I started thinking seriously that he was going to wind up here because of the type of guy he is in addition to the talent that he is. And that ended up being the case, and he will come on with us, but he doesn't want to do it until Indiana finishes their season because he doesn't want to take away from anything that they're doing. I mean, how can you not do anything but respect that? It's, again, just that's the type of guy that you're coming in. Well, yeah, he's a millionaire. That's okay. Russell said the Michigan State wide receiver is huge. Dude, they got all kinds of people coming in. Ken asked me, any thoughts on Paul Feinbaum's ridiculous bias against IU football? You know what? I don't, it's not that he has a... First of all, his job is with ESPN to prop up the SEC, basically. I mean, that's his job. His fan base, his audience is an SEC audience. So they're going to do that. ESPN does not have Big Ten games. Now they have the CFP games, but that's what Paul Feinbaum's going to do. I played this segment that I loved because both Cam Newton and Feinbaum were just dumb. They had some pretty dumb takes after the game. Oh, they were talking about how the Ohio State loss to Miami was so much more embarrassing than the Alabama loss. And I'm like, you're out of your mind, dude. I go, first of all, Miami's a good team. People overreact and think teams are better than they are, especially in the SEC. But you had a former LSU player who just torched them afterwards. And I hope I can quickly find that and pull that back up. But man, oh man, it may be this. And if it is, let me after they went on this rant about how it was the most embarrassing loss. Let's hear what the response was.
I can tell you just want to go home or y'all want to hang out in the South because this is ridiculous. The two people that call for the most SEC bias in hell ever to now be like Alabama getting their face stumped in. Is it embarrassing that isn't the thing you're most disappointed in? That Alabama getting Alabama by a hoop school, something that you look at and say that's more disappointing than losing in a very close game to a really good team who also spent a ton of money in NIL, who has a quarterback who's in the same class and quarterbacks who are playing 3 years in the league right now, who has players from South Florida that are 5 stars, losing to that team in a very close game, finding a way to fight back in the second half. Is it worse than never being in the game? Than playing against a team and not even pitching them? Than looking at Indiana on the sideline and Indiana coach getting mad about everything? If they give up 5 yards, he pissed off because he know how sorry and soft you are? Are you serious? It's not even close. Ohio State, yes, they fell short of expectations. Alabama has now lowered the expectations of the entire fan base after that.
I just love that, man. That was hilarious and a great response. And there's nothing else you can say. It is what it is. But it's not that. Here's the thing that these SEC zealots just refuse to grasp. And I don't know what the point is of them doing it anymore because it's not accurate. They just have to understand, but they won't admit this. The SEC was a cheatiness conference in the history of football. I think that everyone pretty well knows that. Other than, in addition to any team from Texas. But now, everybody gets to pay players, number one. Number two, those players are not locked into staying. So when a certain SEC team had a roster full of players that they had acquired, let's say, and they couldn't really go anywhere, well, you had them built in for all that time. I got to take a quick break. The Fish is up with me next. We'll continue that conversation. What a great day. Lots to get to. Back with it and much more right after, of course, these messages.
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemooreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage, and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat on this Monday, and man, oh man, is it a Monday. The Fish with us, and I'm tired. I know Don's tired because, damn it, he had a basketball game to do last night. Don, congratulations on getting through a wicked workload, especially after this Rose Bowl win. We'll get to that. We'll talk about the basketball game quickly. A good win for Indiana. I think the best part of that win was getting production from secondary guys, I'll call. Even though he's a starter, Connor Enright scored last night, not something he does a lot of. Trent Sisley, of course, it's not a shock, but he supplies those minutes that you want to see a guy like that supply.
Yeah, there's no question. Trent, he's been struggling a little bit lately, especially I think with his shot, which, sometimes younger guys erode a little bit in their play when they're not shooting it well. I just think that he was more aggressive last night, and I think that maybe the layoff through the Christmas break and those kinds of things helped him get back on track, so to speak. And when he came into the ball game that second half, he was spectacular. He gave him a spark, much like Connor Enright does when he plays the kind of aggressive basketball that he does. And then I think both Connor and Tate and Connerway, those guys in the very beginning of that ball game last night, got Indiana off on the right foot, because you could see Washington was bound and determined they were not going to allow Tucker DeVries and Lamar Wilkerson get off with just any kind of three-point shot that they wanted to take. They were guarded hard last night throughout the ball game. So I was really excited to see those guys come up and play really well. The bench last night scores 26 points. That's huge for this basketball team, because the bench is not that deep at this point. There's no question. And if there is one of the areas that they've hopefully can upgrade as this year goes on in regard to that, is the front line, because they've got two guys that play the post. That's it. And without doubt, both those guys are capable, but they have different skill sets. And, when you get Sam Alexis in there, he's a rebounder, a banger inside, block shots occasionally. Reed Bailey is just he's a 6'10" guy that plays the post, but he's not really, he doesn't as skilled, I think, as Sam Alexis is in regard to the inside game. So, from the perspective of a good win, there's no question it was a really good win for this ball club, and it sets them up for a ball game against Maryland on Wednesday night, a Maryland team that's has some struggling problems this year at this point under Buzz Williams in his first season.
Yeah, when you shoot 43% from behind the three-point line and you're back to knocking down free throws at an 80% clip, you turn the ball over 4 times in the entire daggone game, and they out-rebounded this Washington team. So, boy, you want to talk about the magical ingredients, there they are.
Yeah, I think, and Coach DeVries talked about it in the pregame, that's some of the things they worked on during the Christmas break that they had. I think 12 days off, basically, without a ball game, which is a long period of time. And he said that was the longest he's ever experienced as a head coach. But at the same time, I think it did this team really good. I think they needed to work on some things, and it may got some kinks taken care of. So we'll see. Again, you want to play extremely well when you have a chance to play at home in the Big Ten. Those are when you can definitely get wins. And then when you go on the road, it's going to be a tougher scenario, as we know. But I think this team is set up. If they continue to play defense the way that they can play defense, I think that's one of the real keys to this ball club, because you're going to have some nights where you don't shoot it as well, and your defense can carry you a little bit and get you back in the ball game. So right now, I think that's the one thing I'm most impressed with this basketball team. I thought they would probably have some problems defensively throughout this season. I think their defense has been pretty solid throughout.
Absolutely, and I know that's something that they're going to have. They used to hang their hat on to make up for some of their deficiencies. And so, congratulations on getting that. They're 2-1 now in league play. We can't ignore it. We got to get to it, baby. I'm wearing my Rose Bowl shirt, Don. It was a spectacular experience. We'll get to all the stuff, and I've already talked about the thing that's still blowing my mind. That Rose Bowl Stadium was filled with 80% Indiana fans. I don't know how the hell they got their hands on that many tickets. I'm shocked that they outshowed the team that has won 18 national titles. They embarrassed them in every way, from on the field to in the stands, and it was just an unbelievable performance by Indiana, from their fans all the way down to the football team managers.
No question. This is probably as big a game as Indiana's ever played, and they were more than up to the task, which is really huge. And I think it's why Indiana football right now is the most remarkable program in the country and maybe in the history of college football.
I agree.
Able to do in 2 years. That's why Curt Cignetti should be given all the accolades and every Coach of the Year award that's possibly out there. This football team has just played some magnificent football this season, and the Rose Bowl, the Big Ten championship ball game, all these things just play into why Indiana fans can be as excited as they want to be and as braggadocio as they want to be at this point, because we've never seen anything like this in Indiana before.
No one in college athletics has ever seen anything like this before, Don. And if Indiana is able to go win the national title, they would become the first team to ever go 16-0 in a season. On top of that, you called the 76 team, right?
I did.
You're going to be setting the first. Indiana's going to be the only team to have the last national champion basketball program and to have the first and only 16-0 national champion football program, and you would have been able to call them both. Man, what a bookend to a career, my friend. Not that it's over, but I mean, wow. I know you could have never expected this, but that's incredible.
Well, it is. It's very unique, to say the least, and it's so much fun to be a part of. I've said this many times. The term turnaround is no longer in existence in my mind, and I don't know what the adjective is that you would utilize in that regard, because we've never seen anything like this in Indiana. And the whole sole reason behind it is one head coach, and his name is Curt Cignetti. This guy is remarkable. Everybody that, I guess, all the teams that got into this thing, into the college football playoff that had buys, they're all gone. You're talking about one team left, and that's Indiana, the only one that got a bye and was able to succeed through that bye. So they are on to this Peach Bowl ball game against an Oregon team that they've already beaten once, 30-20, in Eugene. Which was tremendous in itself. And I think you're going to see an Indiana crowd in Atlanta on Friday night that will match what we saw at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, California, because our fans are as excited as I've ever seen them.
It may exceed that even, Don, because you've got Oregon that's so far away, first of all, and like you just said, this is a drivable game. Hell, they overtook the Rose Bowl, and you had to fly in from all over. They're driving in here. They're gonna absolutely take over Atlanta, and you're right. It's going to be another tremendous game. But I watch this team, and I'm not the biggest expert in the world, but you just don't have to be if you have common sense. I've never seen a team, and I in the locker room afterwards, you're talking to Mike Shanahan, but it's the same across the board. They just execute, and that sounds really simple, but I played football, and I know guys that play football. The coaches, every coach in the world spends his lifetime trying to just get his team to execute at the optimum level, the entire team. And it usually never happens because it's so hard. This team does exactly that. They do nothing but execute at every level of play, and it's mesmerizing, but it's why they are doing what they're doing to virtually every team they play, and are able to stop and scheme around them. So it is no longer shocking to watch this, Don.
I apologize myself for what.
It's okay, brother. I can stretch. I was stretching.
At any rate, you're right. This team is remarkable in the way that they do execute. There's no question about that. And that's the mark of Kurt Cignetti. Again, he preaches the same thing day after day, rep after rep. All of his sayings are in vogue, I guess you could say, each and every time they walk out on the football field. And they are as prepared as any football team I've seen ever. There's no question their preparation is phenomenal. And what this coaching staff does to get their team ready it's impeccable stuff. It just simply is. And there are so many things you want to say about it, and then you can't say enough, because this program is on a road that we've never seen. And honestly, it's so much fun to be a part of, obviously. But at the same time, as much as the accolades at this point feel like you should be talking about those kinds of things, you come back to the very fact that you're going to play a really good football team tonight that can beat you if you don't play up to your standard.
And that really wants to beat you because, as you mentioned, they lost at home and snapped their home losing streak. It's the only loss they've taken this year. And this is a team that was number one last year, Don, that lost with a bye, that didn't win the national title then. So they're wanting to come back and get that as well. But and there's no doubt, I think this will possibly be the toughest team they play, even if they move forward. But Oregon they're great. We watched them for the last few years, and Coach Dan Lanning, he's up there as well as one of the greats.
Well, there's no doubt that Indiana will not look past Oregon. They will be ready to play them, and who plays the best, who makes the fewest mistakes, will probably end up winning this football game, as they will in the national championship. I think that's one of the keys with football these days. You can't make critical mistakes at critical times in ball games, and we've seen Indiana not do that. They have not made critical mistakes at critical times at all this season. When they've had to come through and play their best football, they've done exactly that, and that's what I anticipate. As I keep telling everybody, back in the day when Bob Knight was the head basketball coach at Indiana University, I never thought they were going to lose. I never went into a game thinking they were going to lose, because I just thought they were so well prepared. And that's kind of the way I feel about this Indiana football team. They are not going to lose because of ill preparation.
Absolutely. And it showed against Alabama, a team that they just – Alabama had no answer for anything, especially the running game, but they just had no answers, and that was shocking to see, Don, because this is one of those SEC teams that went through the grind that all the SEC people thought were just invincible almost, and Indiana just went through them like a knife through butter.
Nope, you got to say one thing. Indiana absolutely dominated an Alabama team that is supposedly one of the best perennial powers in the country. And look, I say this: anybody can beat anybody at this point at this level at any time. But to dominate them like Indiana did, that was special.
Absolutely. Well, last thing, how fun was that for you?
Oh, well, I'm not sure I can explain that. I don't think trying to explain how euphoric I was after that ball game I could possibly be. So, no, it was really fun. And like I said, this has been the last two seasons at Indiana have been the most remarkable I've ever seen, and as much fun as I've ever had doing college sports.
Well, brother, it is always fun with you on every Monday. Look forward to it and enjoy it, and we'll see you in Atlanta as it keeps on rolling.
Yeah, we'll be in Maryland first, and then we'll get to Atlanta, and then we're going to come back home and see if we can do the game against the Huskers the next day. So we'll see. We'll find out whether can I handle it.
Keep that honey and tea going, baby. Keep the honey and tea going.
It'll be more than that. I might need to take some steroids or something.
We'll get you taken care of. The great one, Don Fischer, appreciate you, sir, joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, as always, as he does each Monday. And how much fun is he having? Like you said, he couldn't even explain, and he usually doesn't, talk a lot like that. But I didn't get to hear the broadcast. I'd like to go back and listen to it. Maybe I'll try to pull it up for today's show, or some of it, some of those great calls. But man, oh man, that's the thing I miss about actually covering the game. I don't get to hear Don's call the game. So, but normally I'm in the press box for games. For this one, I was on the field, did a lot of shooting, videos and pictures and whatnot. And, but I will say this, boy, I did not choose the right footwear. I was not planning on being on the field that much, and all of that. And, but I think I've got them cleaned back up. Had to put them in the washing machine. Left my raincoat on the plane on the way out. Was using it as a pillow. A jacket that I'd had for 20 years. I got it working in the media for the National Finals Rodeo a long time ago, and I was so disappointed. And I like 3 days later when I go back, I said, "Hey, I left a jacket." "Oh, well, if it touches the skin, we throw that away." And I'm like, really? It didn't touch the skin, first of all, but either way. Lost my jacket! Wasn't happy about that. So, is what it is. And that's what's going to have... we've got so much more. I watched Any Given Sunday was on last night. One of my favorite football movies. Love it. And just had to watch that. Actually, I had to finish watching that while Indiana was playing basketball. I missed the first half of that game, so I had to squeeze that in. But man, oh man, Indiana is on a roll, and there's no luck to what they're doing. They're not winning these games because they're getting a turnover at the last second or, whatever. They're just dominating. They dominated an Alabama team that has the horses. That's what amazed me. They dominated an Alabama line that probably had nothing but 4 and 5 stars. It's probably all they are. Dominated them. It is unbelievable to see the play, but it's because simply of execution. Let me take a quick break for the week. Greg Rakestraw joins us next. We've got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Monday. Back with more right after these messages.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage, and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Welcome Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Monday. Glad to have you with us, of course. Greg Rakestraw from the ISC Sports Network joins us now, and I'm sure that your weekend stayed busy as well. The Colts had their final regular season game and gave it another good shot. They ran out Riley Leonard out there, the Notre Dame quarterback, to grab him some experience. And first it wasn't going all that well, but obviously they were able to fight back. So some positivity there, I guess. You got to find the silver lining, I guess, Greg.
Correct. And so the two things you take away from yesterday's game, really, I guess there are three. Number one, Riley Leonard can play. Is Riley Leonard your starting quarterback next year? Probably not. But do you now know kind of what you have in Riley, and can he be a pretty competent backup quarterback? I think he can be. Two, Alec Pierce had another tremendous season. I know only had 47 catches, but he averaged over 20 yards a catch. He went over 1,000 yards receiving. It's the second consecutive year that he has averaged over 20 yards a catch, and he is now getting in some rarefied air. Alec is in the top 25 in NFL history in terms of yards per catch through 4 seasons. Now, he is a free agent. I think there is obviously, you have to, get Daniel Jones back or figure out your quarterback situation, which i.e. is going to be Daniel Jones coming back. And once you get that contract taken care of, now it's extending out. And don't be surprised if the Colts temporarily franchise tag on Alec to work on a long-term deal to kind of keep him there. And the third overarching thing that Jim, you take away from yesterday's game is defensively, you got to figure some things out. And again, I think the two biggest free agent contracts are going to go to guys on the offensive side of the football. I think there's some other salary cap movements and machinations that could take place, i.e. Michael Pittman Jr. is probably going to get cut just because it would save a tremendous amount under the salary cap, which then frees you up to invest a bit more in your defense, go out and try to find some pass rush help in the market. But yesterday against a Texans team that is pretty average offensively and against their backups in the second half, you gave up 38 points. Now, 6 of those came on a backyard school play on the last play of the game, but it's still 32 points. You have 8 scoring drives to a team that, yes, is a very good team in Houston, but it's not a very good offensive team in Houston. And it just kind of reinforces that, yes, Sauce Gardner didn't play. Yes, Javarius Ward didn't play. Yes, DeForest Buckner didn't play. But you've got to continue to invest on the defense because what you have simply isn't good enough at this point.
Yeah, and they have the offseason to do that. Obviously, I don't think there's going to be any changes in personnel at the top, it looks like. And a lot of consternation amongst fans about that, especially with Chris Ballard at the GM spot. I know that there are a lot of people that would, and I know that, and I'm not saying they shouldn't. That's not my. I'm not educated enough to really say that, but I know that from the outside how it looks. But I know there's a lot of different things on the inside how things work.
Correct, and I would say this. I can't argue the numbers from 9 years of Chris Ballard, of 0 AFC South championships, of 2 playoff appearances, of 1 playoff win. I would say that the things that went wrong in 2025 are easily explainable due to injuries. And it is easy to criticize the Sauce Gardner trade, having given up A.D. Mitchell and 2 first-round picks, and Sauce did frankly next to nothing when he was here because of injury. The caveat is that Sauce is under contract for another 4 years. And frankly, his significant money doesn't kick in until a year or 2 down the road when a lot of veteran players' deals come off the books. Chris had kind of set this thing up from a salary cap standpoint to coincide with the end of Anthony Richardson's rookie contract, which is the end of next year. And so the ability to get a player like Sauce Gardner, who was a top 5 level pick and still less than 25 years of age, Chris jumped at it, thinking it was the final piece for this team. And then injury set in and a rough schedule set in, and just this team couldn't catch a break the last 7 or 8 weeks of the season. So if you cite Chris's overall record, I'm not sure I can argue, but I can at least look at 2025 and go, hey, I like the moves they made. Daniel Jones was the right move to make. I like bringing in Shavarius Ward, even if, again, unfortunately, injuries curtailed his season. I like bringing in Cam Bynum. And I also think from a roster standpoint that, again, that people like start throwing things at me when I say this. They're not that far away. They're kind of largely set up on offense where I can kind of give you an idea who the 11 starters are this coming season, which means that you'd love to have a first-round pick. Of course you would. But at the same time, picks 2 through 7, I guarantee you most of those guys are going to be on defense. And there's also a couple of guys, talking about the injury bug hitting late in the season. Well, from a draft pick standpoint, the injury bug hit early in the season because your 3rd-round pick in Justin Wally and your 7th-round pick they really like and Hunter Wohler never saw the field this year because they both got hurt in training camp. Justin got hurt working out against the Ravens on August the 5th. Hunter got hurt in the Packers game on August the 16th. One, if not both those guys, might be starting next year for this football team. Wally had earned a starting job coming out of training camp. So I do think that they're not that far away. And I do think that next year's kind of a make it or break it year because, frankly, you are at a reset point next year, even without a first-round pick in 2027. If this team kind of stays the same or shows any regression whatsoever, then you blow it up, then you start over and go from there.
Yeah, and it's just a shame the way we saw the season end, especially quarterback. I mean, they really had a rotation, and you eventually bring in Phillip Rivers, which was kind of funny, but I got to be honest with you. Old man Rivers, for coming off the shelf after being that long and not being in NFL shape, damn, he played okay. I'm like, golly. Wow, I'm impressed.
Well, first of all, using golly, you're in the Phillip Rivers vernacular, so well done by you, Jim. But secondarily, both things can be true. Was Phillip Rivers a great story? Yes. Did Phillip Rivers surpass expectations for a guy that hadn't played in 5 years? Absolutely. Did he help the Colts achieve their goal of making the playoffs or kind of help this team in the future? Probably not. It's going to be a nice kind of side story as to, things we talk about from 2025. But this is a 2-act play. This is starting 7-1 and then finishing 8-9 and not being a playoff team. And I think there are 6 teams that have done that since the merger in 1970 that have gotten off to that good of a start and not been a playoff team. I'm pretty sure the Colts are the first to do it in the 7 playoff team era, which means it might stand out above the rest in terms of kind of the crater. But again, injuries played a factor. Daniel Jones, playing for a couple of weeks and not being 100%, and then that leading to another injury that cost him his season and will cost him part of his offseason. But you probably lost your 2 most irreplaceable players on both sides of the ball. DeForest Buckner on defense, Daniel Jones on offense. You combine that with, Jim, I have never seen a finishing kick to a schedule what the Indianapolis Colts had. Their last 6 weeks of the season, they play teams that won 12 games. And I can tell you, looking at next year's schedule, out of the 17 games they play, 6 of them are against teams that made the playoffs this year. They play 4 different playoff teams: the Steelers, the Eagles, the Texans, the Jaguars. Their furthest west game this year is Houston, Texas, after having to go to the West Coast 3 times and having to go to Berlin once. None of those things take place this coming year. I think this is a year that can be one of success for the Indianapolis Colts. We've said that a lot the last decade, and it really hasn't happened. So I understand there's not much that I can say that will tell Colts fans, hey, next year's going to be a great year. Everybody very much is upset about how this year played out, and frankly, upset about how the last decade has played out. This team is absolutely in prove-it mode, but I think the pieces are in place where they have a chance to do just that, Jim.
Yeah, because the season started out spectacularly, and if things didn't go, the way they did, injury wise, hey, we're having a different conversation. So, and it did, and those things change. They change, and it can change on a dime at any time, and that could be any team. If New England had, their Drake May go down all of a sudden, their things are going to be hell. And it's the Steelers. Everybody's in different situations. Boy, the Steelers fans, who they're the most consistent organization, maybe in all of sports. But their fans, boy, they want their coach gone. They're not happy with Mike Tomlin anymore. It's like, hey, what have you done for me lately, brother?
They are 10-7, a division champ, and they want their coach fired. What I would say about that is they're kind of at a reset point, though, too. I mean, your quarterback's 42. A lot of your top defensive players are older. They're kind of at that point where you go, all right, if it's time to blow it up and reset, you would kind of be in that position. I get it. Jim, I guess I would say this. Here are the two questions that I'm not sure I've got a great answer for going into next year. A lot of things I think, and fingers crossed, air quotes here, this offense I think can be close to what it was the first half of the season because you got all the potential pieces in place. Secondarily, and in the secondary, if you have a healthy Charvarius Ward, if you have a healthy Sauce Gardner, I think in the back you can be pretty good, which allows you to be more aggressive up front. Here are the two things I'm not sure I have an answer for. One, how this pass rush gets better. Because you've got guys like Tyquan Lewis, Samson Ebicom, Kwity Paye that are out of contract and probably won't be back. Laiatu Latu did some things, but not enough as a first-round pick in his second year. JT Tuimoloau was a ghost. I mean, we barely talked about him, and he's your second-round pick. And again, you bring him in to be a pass rusher, and the pass rush just was not there for this football team anywhere close to what it needed to be for them to be successful. The other thing that's a bit concerning, and it's concerning because I think it's the same five guys you saw yesterday that'll be your starters, is the offensive line. Their production fell off a cliff at the end of the year in terms of being able to run block for Jonathan Taylor. JT was in the conversation for MVP, and obviously that wasn't going to happen with the Colts going on a nosedive, but he finished the year with 14 carries for 26 yards. And he did not top 100 yards after the trip to Berlin in the last win for the Colts on November the 9th. And again, the same five guys that played yesterday are probably your starting five next year, because I don't think it's likely the Colts bring back Braden Smith. You drafted Jalen Travis in the 4th round. He was your right tackle. I think that group is the group that's going to be together. And so that part's got to get better. So offensive line play and pass rush, those are things you likely have to fix from within. Maybe you can invest in a pass rusher, but let's be blunt. The top pass rushers tend not to hit the market, kind of like Myles Garrett. Those guys get given generational money, even to play for bad teams, because the Browns don't want to let him go. And so finding that guy in the market, if you're going to go that route, you'd have to cut at least Michael Pittman. There's a chance DeForest Buckner, Charvarius Ward don't come back due to injuries. While that would stink, that would free up some salary cap money for this football team. Those are the things you have to figure out a way to fix from within. That is the challenge for Chris Ballard coming up this offseason.
No doubt. And I know that right now Indiana fans would love for the Colts to have a first-round draft pick and to pull in Fernando. But no first-round picks for the Colts. Man, oh, man, if there's any here that Hoosier fans would love to see some Indiana guys. But I will say this. We're going to see an abundance of these Indiana players, I think, whether it's in the draft or drafted or being signed as undrafted free agents. There are going to be a boatload of guys off of this team that make it to the NFL, Greg.
Correct. And obviously that will be, part of the storyline of February and March around here is covering the Hoosiers in the Indiana draft. And I think there is little doubt, Jim, that Fernando Mendoza is going to be the number one pick in the draft. and that he is going to the Las Vegas Raiders. That is where he will hear his name first coming up at the end of April. But I do think there are 6 or 7 other Indiana football players that will hear their name drafted at some point in time that Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And again, to kind of paint the scene from a sports coverage standpoint. Locally, we'll talk about the Colts about the next week, and then the Colts kind of go into hibernation. Obviously, the Pacers are having a miserable year, and everybody knows the answer why and knows what the fix is, and that guy's not coming back till next year. So you almost kind of put them to the side. To some degree, you will ride Purdue basketball and a potential Final Four trip to Indianapolis. Obviously, and again, I'm talking about from the Indianapolis market, not more Indiana-specific shows such as yourself. You'll talk some IU basketball because I think they're better, but they're still not an elite, basketball team. Yeah. The other thing that you use to fill the gap is when the NFL Combine is here at the end of February, we sit here and say, man, look at all of these Indiana guys that are about to be drafted. Look at all of these Indiana guys that are here. This event will never have a more hometown feel to it than it will have this year because of the bevy of talent that Curt Cignetti brought with him, guys that were able to prove, hey, I can play at this level and be great at this level. And so, Jim, I expect to see you at the NFL Draft Combine at the end of February, early March, because, frankly, it will be worth your time to do the show live from Lucas Oil, given the Indiana feel that event will have to it.
Oh, you absolutely will. I was there the year before doing it. Didn't do it last year. I forget why, but we'll definitely be there this year because, like you just said, there are going to be so many guys to keep up with. And on top of the guys that will get drafted, there are going to be a ton others, I think, that get picked up as undrafted free agents. There are just so many good players on this team on both sides of the ball, even down to the offensive linemen. That's not
Correct.
Something that we're accustomed to seeing. But on that defensive side of the ball, I think that there are going to be more defenders taken from Indiana than from the offensive side. There's guys like Lewis Moore, sneaky. He had so many interceptions this year. D'Angelo Pons, what's his storyline going to be? Can he overcome that his height? He's not the tallest guy in the world, but he is one hell of a defender. Then Aiden Fischer at linebacker. You've got so many guys. These down linemen, unfortunately for Stephen Daly, he ends a guy like that who one of the most dominant players on the defensive line for any team this year, but has that season-ending knee injury. How does that impact a guy going into the draft?
He is probably a guy that gets drafted but third day. It probably pushes him back to more of a project. And I think there are a lot of third day draft picks. I think Omar Cooper gets drafted. I think Elijah Surratt gets drafted. Again, I think Aiden Fischer gets drafted to kind of bounce back and forth on sides of the ball. I think maybe Coogan gets drafted. You're looking at some of the offensive line guys. You look. I think Pons is probably even a 6th or 7th round pick. And you listed kind of the height issues that he deals with. So, we'll see from the running back position. Again, a lot of running backs get drafted third day because they're guys that you bring in to be 2nd, 3rd, 4th running backs on a given team.
And let me tell you, Kalon Black, if he doesn't get drafted, I'm going to be shocked. He is a freaking freight train when he is rolling. I mean, he is a guy that I would never want to be in front of. He runs like a refrigerator with a F1 engine in it and just rolls over people.
Agreed. And so, again, this will be, from a sports radio standpoint, you ride the current Indiana football team hopefully through the week after the national championship game. That's your dominant topic till about January the 23rd. Then by the time you get to the end of January, it is Purdue basketball, it is Indiana basketball, and it is talking about the NFL draft. Those are the things that I think become the dominant topics locally. And obviously, from an NFL draft standpoint, we're talking about that from a good 2 or 3 months.
Greg Rakestraw, ASC Sports Network. Make sure you're giving him a follow. Appreciate you, sir.
You got it, buddy. We'll talk next week.
Absolutely. Back with more right right after these messages. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports.
I mean, I don't even really know where to start because
after work with colleagues or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Monday. It's almost hard to remember what day it is. Dustin Dopirak from the Indy Star, the beat writer for the Indiana Pacers. Man, I'm telling you, I feel like Dustin Dopirak with this travel, bro. It's like an NBA schedule here, out to L.A., back. Now you're off to Atlanta, back, hopefully, and then off to Miami. It's weird, Dustin. Indiana had 25 days off after the Big Ten championship and the Rose Bowl. But now the 3 biggest games of the entire football season for anybody comes within a little over a 2-week span, I guess, which is I'm like, okay, this seems stupid. It doesn't make sense if you look at any other sporting organization or league or whatever. Nobody does anything that college football does. The transfer portal, the coaching thing, it is its own crazy ass entity, and we still kind of love it though.
Yeah, I mean, how many times do I come on here and say college football is insane and it's supposed to be?
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, it is. It literally, like,
it's kooky. She's kooky, and I love her.
Yeah, no, I mean that's college football, and it's like you think about the foundation that it's built on. You know, at the end of the day, like that's why it is what it is. Like it's. You know, like the reason you have that big of a break, part of it's exams. You know, it's you know, like it's the academic calendar. I mean, I think people have started to talk about, well, you got to move the portal differently, and you got to start the playoffs here, and you got to do that, and you got to do this. I mean, like, but what you're contending with is, you know, it is still college football for as much as these guys are as professional as they're going to get at this point. You know, some of them still want a degree, like the point of playing in college. I mean, like obviously there's, especially when it comes to football, there's not another path to professional football in the United States. But, you know, like some of these guys are not going to play in the NFL, and they do need a degree, and they do need to go to college. And so they need to
Fernando's going to school, but
right. I mean, he's
graduated already. His classes are online. I just caught the other day, which is very helpful.
Yeah, it certainly is. But I mean, even if it is, you got to study. I mean, like even if you're taking online courses and you're going to, if you intend to actually get something out of them, you know, you got to care. You got to, you know, that's a time investment. You know, even if you don't spend the day going to an actual class, you gotta, you have to learn, you have to hit your exams, you have to write your papers, like all this kind of stuff. At some point, there's, like some level of requirement there. So that's what it's built on. And it's, it's built on Christmas. It's built on, and some of it's just old tradition. Some of it's built on, getting the Rose Bowl. It's January, parade and the whole bit. And for whatever you want, I think everybody, was talking about leading up to the week, like, oh, everybody deserves a home game, this, that, and the other thing. But, but also for my money, Indiana getting to go to Pasadena and win that game there was magic. It basically went in, took over the town, biggest stage, as cool. Like it definitely would have been cool if you play that game in Bloomington. There's no doubt about it. I'm not trying to act like that wouldn't have been a cool scene, but for Indiana being what it is, what it's gone through, kind of tying some old things together, circling back, going to the Rose Bowl for the first time since '67 and winning it. And especially as a Big Ten team, where for years and years that was the end goal, was the Rose Bowl. There's a lot of symbolism in there and all that kind of stuff. I mean, for as much as you could say, okay, well, this whole bowl system was always corrupt, and thank God we're going to the playoff. Why are we still giving these old bowl executives their annual payday and they're this and they're that? Man, some of that stuff's still fun. Some of that stuff is still harkens back to our old traditions. We like to wake up on New Year's Day and have a whole day worth of football to watch, and kind of be envious as whoever's in Miami or LA or New Orleans or whatever warm locale it is. It's part of it, and so it makes for this really weird, screwy schedule. It used to be weirder. For what all we're talking about now and complaining about now, like the Big Ten used to get done the week before Thanksgiving. It didn't play Thanksgiving week. And then it would not play again. Your champion did not play again until January 1st. So, I mean, it was like 5 weeks that they didn't play a football game, and sometimes got gypped out of a national championship because of it, because you'd have 2 full weekends of football that someone else is playing and the Big Ten wasn't, and they were out of sight, out of mind. And then they would go play in the Rose Bowl, regardless of what else had happened in college football, and have a chance to lose out, and Penn State was undefeated in 1994, had to play in the Rose Bowl, did not have any opportunity to play Nebraska that year. And they gave Tom Osborne a national championship. So,
yeah, it's wild. I'm just looking at it. They play on January 1st, and if they make it all the way through, they'll play on January 19th for the national championship. 3 of the toughest games that you're ever going to play come within 19 days, but you're off for 25 days prior to that. So yeah, we'll see if what
it's
goes
weird.
on with that.
It's weird. It's but obviously, to get straight into it, for them to take 25 days off and blow somebody out is such a big deal. I mean, again,
they're the only bye team still to win a game, and they didn't win it. They
demolished,
destroyed the 18-time national champion SEC juggernaut, Alabama. Shut them down. It was
right.
They had, I've said this already, but they had no answer for anything. They didn't have an answer for the offense. They didn't have an answer for the defense. No. I mean, it was amazing to watch, because this is a team that has, they had some losses, but they also beat Georgia at Georgia. Yeah. So this is not just some run-of-the-mill team.
It's not the best Alabama team you've ever seen. This is not a Saban era 2014, 15, 16, that whole, well, whatever, from like 11 to 17, I don't know what, 20. I mean, they were this is not a Saban era Alabama team, but it's an Alabama team. They still have 5 stars. They still, Ryan Williams was like one of the most coveted wide receivers we've ever heard of. That they've got guys up front that are going to be pros, stuff like that. Like, it's still really impressive. And there's no doubt about it. Indiana comes out of, quarterfinal week as national championship favorite. They are
I think they already are.
Yeah, no, they are. That's what I'm saying. I'm the biggest surprise to me, I still thought Ohio State was going to win.
Everybody did.
I thought, Ole Miss and I thought Oregon was going to beat Texas Tech. I mean, I think, I thought that was a coin flip. I thought Texas Tech was better than people gave them credit for. But like that was kind of a coin flip game. Thought Georgia was going to win that game. That was just a fantastic football game.
I was surprised. I've got to say, I was surprised to see Ole Miss come out on top of that.
I mean, Trinidad Chambliss was a magician in that game. That was the best, like not taking nothing away from Mendoza, because that was just demolishing. But like in terms of somebody having to pull rabbits out of hats, Chambliss was, had the quarterback performance of the weekend. He was just spectacular. There's 3 plays where by all rights he should have been down 3 times and still made something out of it, made something major out of it. During the drives that changed that game. So yeah, I mean, that was a magnificent football game. But bottom line, I would have thought, Georgia and Ohio State come out of this, looking like that was going to be just an all-time football game between those two, and both of them lose. And so like Indiana just demolishes somebody and they come out of it again like the clear favorite. There's just no flaw in their game right now. There's no, like stuff can happen. They're going to play a very
It's execution. It's execution at the highest level that I have personally never seen in any sport, by any team ever. It's just amazing. They don't make mistakes, and everybody does their job. And the thing about doing that in the game of football is you've got an offensive line. Well, hell, you've got 5 different offensive linemen. So now you got to break that down. Then you've got the talent guys. Well, they all have to be in line where they have to be. They all have to do their job. The quarterback's got to do his job. You've got everybody that has to do individual jobs, 11 just on offense. Then you repeat that on defense. Then you repeat that in special teams. And to be able to go through all of those things and execute so well, it's just nothing that we see at this level, because it's so hard, because the other team has a lot to do with that.
It's actively trying to make you fail. Yeah. I mean, it's not like we're just, most of us in our lives, as far as execution is concerned, we don't have somebody actively trying to stop us.
Yeah. If you told me to take 10 paces straight ahead, normally I could do that. But if you're standing there on the side of me and you shove me, kind of hard to get that accomplished.
Yeah, exactly. All things. It's like if everything's easier, and most of us in life, we don't have to get hit every time we try to do something.
I love this. Kyle Neddenrip has got a story. I can't wait to talk to him, but he's got a story in the Star today. In the upside down world where Indiana football is ranked number 1 and playing in a college football semifinal, comes another possible sign of the apocalypse. High school basketball games moving off of Friday night to accommodate Indiana football.
Yeah.
What in the hell? What in the wide world of sports is going on, baby?
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, it's sensible. I mean, I like, obviously the state is getting swept up in this. Certainly if you're, or at least half the state, basically, if you're not a Purdue fan.
I'd say more. And I'd say a lot of fans that are just out there have to be rooting for this crazy. You can't call them an underdog. They're not a damn underdog. They're the freaking favorite. They're kicking everybody's ass.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is just a total turnaround. It's more than a turnaround.
It's not even a Cinderella. I mean, I don't even know what you call it.
No, I mean, it feels like, it is a more dramatic version of it's a much more dramatic version. So I'm not like when it kind of it is almost like the extent to which they're different. Like it sort of reminds me of I know these are all my own analogies, but Indiana baseball, when they built Bart Kaufman Field, it felt like they just got a minor league team, like out of the clear blue sky. Like obviously, if you've been following them, it was one thing, like you knew they had some talented players and stuff like that. And they had been good in the Big Ten. They'd won the Big Ten in like 2009, but they built that stadium and they have, Kyle Schwarber and Sam Travis. And it's almost like just something appeared overnight that wasn't there before. And it's almost like that's what this football team feels like. That's what the Signetti era, it just looks like they just totally replaced everything that used to be there. Because no, like to your point, like they're not an underdog. Like what is out there now is, I mean, it's a phenomenal collection of talent. They're going to send a ton of NFL, of guys to the NFL. Like there's going to be a bunch of guys, like Mendoza might go number 1. That's going to be very, very weird, by the way. If the Raiders take Mendoza, like that is going to be the strangest combination of things, because he's the least Raiders person that's ever existed, probably. But yeah, I mean, like he might go number 1 overall. And so it is, you can't look at this as some little engine that could. Obviously, a lot of money was invested to change this, to make it what it is. But yeah, I mean, like more than for anybody else, it's like the Indiana fan base has just watched teams that had no chance for years and years and years and years and years. And this now is just such a drastically weird, different thing. But it is right now, for sure, unquestionably, the best football team in the country. Stuff can happen in the next 2 weeks, but
anything can always happen. But as of right now, and they're taking on an Oregon team that they've played once, beat them on the road, snapped Oregon's, I think, 22-game home winning streak. Given the only loss that they had for the season, they're still miffed about last year. They were the number 1 seed. They got beat
bad
on their shot, so they want redemption. Not only over Indiana, but they just want, I don't think they care about redemption over Indiana. I don't think anybody cares about any of that crap. This is just a game.
People care about some crap. You'd be surprised.
Well, but I mean, you care about the game because it's where you want to get to. You've got to win this game. It doesn't matter if you're playing the Las Vegas Raiders or whomever. You got to win.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's still, it's a team that, remember, I mean, Oregon didn't used to matter. Like you go back 30 years. Like, I mean, the first time I heard of Oregon, as a football team, as an entity that made any kind of impact, was when they won the Pac-12 or the Pac-10 in '94 and they played Penn State. But hadn't even thought of Oregon, up until that point. And then Oregon becomes one of the most, consistent, players on the national stage over the last probably 30 years, more or less. I mean, Oregon's been there most of the time. They have them in Alabama, but they've had a bunch of these teams that were close, the Mariota era teams and whatnot, where they've had a top 10 team or they have a top 5 team, or they've had a year where it was supposed to be their year and it hasn't happened. And so, yeah, I mean, every year Oregon's going to come into some of the situations, think that's, this is finally our time. We're finally going to do this. And last year was one of those years. I mean, I saw them beat Penn State in the Big Ten title game, and I'm thinking that they're going to have a hard time losing. And then Ohio State just took off, and Jeremiah Smith become, you see him do NFL level stuff on in the Rose Bowl that game, and they lose their shot again. So yeah, they're absolutely going to come in. They've got a billion reasons for motivation. Not that you need any at this point. It's the semifinals. But they are Indiana's a little bit better at everything than they are, but they're also complete. They're complete. You look at their stats and they're everything that Indiana is top 5 in, Oregon is top 20 in. That's sort of the best way to put it. It's they do stop the run. They do stop the pass. They do run the ball pretty well. They've thrown it better than they do now, but they do have a super elusive, talented quarterback. And
they've gotten a few receivers back that were hurt as well. So they're healthy. It's going to be a fantastic game, I think. And it should be. It's the Final Four of college football. And in my opinion, probably the 2 best teams in the Big Ten. If you want to be honest about it, I think that Oregon is still good, and they're a hell of a lot better than they were 3 months ago when Indiana beat them. But so is Indiana, and Indiana is really firing on all cylinders right now, but not any more so than on defense. And Bryant Haynes is doing it with scheming, because he has lost multiple big-time players, especially they go into that game against Alabama without Stephen Daly, the most dominant down lineman of the back half of the season for anybody, with nearly 20 tackles for loss, and they just still hold Alabama to less than 30 yards rushing.
Yeah. That's incredible.
How do you do that for a team that's
Alabama can't run the ball, dude?
I know, but and that's what they're supposed to be, a running team.
in history. Historically, they have been, but this has been a bad. Alabama has not been able to run the ball against good teams this year. That is weird. Like traditionally, we are used to. I mean, how many Heisman Trophy caliber Alabama running backs have we seen? At least. I mean, there's how many we've actually guys who have actually won it between Ingram and Henry, and I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody. And other guys that are still pros in the league, Jacobs, etc. They've had churned out fantastic running backs, and right now they can't run the ball. And they couldn't run the ball against Indiana. They couldn't run against Georgia either. So it's not like but still, Indiana against the run has been absolutely fantastic. So I'm not trying to take anything away on either side there. I mean, the other down linemen have been fantastic. I mean, absolutely fantastic. They there is depth there. Beyond Bailey. I mean, like Landino has been fantastic. Tucker has been fantastic. I mean, the guys coming in behind them have been excellent. Kamara has still been Kamara. Linebackers, Hardy, Fischer. I mean, just everybody has done such a great job. Isaiah Jones. I mean, these guys have done such fantastic work at getting to ball carriers and winning up front. Look, that was a wild stat. Their worst, it was the first time they lost by 35 since 1999. And
the worst playoff or worst postseason loss ever.
Yeah, you had to remember you had to go back of just
what's up, Nolan?
Pre-Saban Alabama. It's hard to remember pre-Saban Alabama because of how dominant that stretch was. But you have to go think back. The Mike Price situation. I mean, there were crazy stories.
What was Shula? Didn't Shula?
Between Gene Stallings when they win the title in '92. And, so like late 90s Alabama was okay. I remember they had a really good Orange Bowl against Michigan one year, when Brady beat them. But Alabama was very hit or miss and went through some very weird stuff before they finally ponied up and got Saban. And then they just dominated college football for 15 years. But in between there, man, it was there before that, it was brutal. And so you had to go all the way back to that era to see, remember them getting beat like that Indiana beat them. It's very weird saying it out loud. But again, this Indiana football team is as good a collection of talent as any that wins a national championship.
Yeah. It reminds me of a time, but it's different, completely different. And I've mentioned this. I think it was 1991, the Fiesta Bowl. Arizona had it was something to do with the Martin Luther King holiday, I think. And there was a lot of protest. First team, whoever was eligible, said, nah, we're not going. Second team said, nah, we're not going. I think they got down to the third team, and it was Louisville, who was like, how they coming in? Yeah. Rolled Alabama 31-7. Just Howard Snellenberger and that crew just kicked that was a major upset. This was not. This was just a shock to the system is what it is. And it's because Alabama and SEC fans are still not able to comprehend that the SEC is not the only teams that can pay players now, and they're not locked in. In addition to that, they used to have them locked in because you couldn't leave, basically you couldn't leave. So and why would you leave? If you're getting paid and you're winning, and Saban is a great coach. Do not make any mistake about that. That's why all four of the coaches that are in right now had a connection to him. Three of them really coached for him. Dan Lanning was a graduate assistant. I guess you'll count that, but it shows he's a hell of a coach. And I think what you see from Kurt Cignetti, a lot of that came from what he learned at Alabama in those 4 years.
Yeah, I think we shouldn't get too far ahead of our skis and act as if, pin a major scandal on Saban, just presuming that they must have been paying guys. That's probably not a good idea. But no, I mean, when I covered Tennessee, I got to see, I don't want to say I saw Alabama up close. I didn't see them up close, but I mean, I saw them, the teams they look like and really, had to dive into them and look at how they matched up against Tennessee. And, Tennessee, I think, had a competitive game against them, but I mean, they had so many pros. I mean, just their defensive fronts. They're, like back then, like this was before they really invested in offense and started, really lighting up scoreboards. I mean, this is when they were beating everybody 14-6, or 14-3. I mean, they just had so much defensive talent. I mean, they're churning out first round defensive linemen. They had NFL linebackers. They had NFL cornerbacks. I mean, it was just everything. It was just this insanely disciplined team. They didn't beat themselves. They ran the ball well. They had good enough quarterbacks. They had good enough wide receiver play. I mean, yeah, Saban just built an absolute dynasty there. And yeah, I mean, like having covered both the SEC and the Big Ten, I still think there's going to come a time again where the SEC is going to, come back and be the overwhelming dominant conference. I think it's still the best conference top to bottom. I mean, I think it makes for the most entertaining. If you just say, I'm going to watch one conference every Saturday, I'm not going to watch anybody else's game.
I'm gonna push back on that because I think that is still perception. We see Vanderbilt play an Iowa team that I think was better than a ton of SEC teams, better than SEC teams that made the CFP. I think Iowa was better than Texas A&M. Iowa lost 4 games to 4 ranked teams by a total of 15 points. If you look at Texas A&M, they beat Notre Dame. Other than that, they didn't do much. They had some losses that were see. They don't like to look at their losses. They only like to look at wins. Losses matter to me. I'm like, you lost to this guy. You lost here. So I think it's a lot of perception there. Like I said, Iowa's a team that didn't get the credit they deserved. They were a hell of a lot better than people thought. And if they had a stinking offense, they would have been in the damn CFP. I think they would have won one of those games, but then you've got USC has got to pick it up, man. They got to pick up the pace. They're lagging, and they've got to get better. They barely lose a game, but look at what the Big Ten has done in postseason. They are dominating the postseason. Look at the SEC. They're getting their clocks cleaned. What are they now? 3-6?
Yeah, I mean that is part of it. Is the I don't know. I still think that's good football. At the end of the day, I get it. They have not had a good bowl season at all. But I mean, you can't judge.
But doesn't that say that's because they're over? The people think they're better than they are, and when they actually play other comparable teams, they get their butts beat.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. People think they're better than they are. I do still think they are. All of these things can be true at the same time. I still think it's the most entertaining league on a Saturday to Saturday basis. The Big Ten's best teams are better.
I can't disagree, to be honest with you. I mean,
the Big Ten's best teams are better than their best teams.
Yes.
I think that is clearly showing out. The Big Ten also has better middle of the pack teams than they got credit for. Because I think it was viewed as a top heavy league the entire time. It had some screwy stuff happen. I mean, Penn State's a better team than its record indicates, or finished the season better, but it was not what it was supposed to be. Michigan had chaos, but that was a pretty good football team. I mean, they get beat by Texas, but they gave Texas a game. For all of the madness of Michigan, whatever. I mean, yes, USC does need to pick it up. But what did
not just SC, but their coach. Daggone it, Lincoln Riley. I'm like, man, he's getting paid a lot of money leading this big time program, and they're doing diddly. Hey, we've got to take a break. Dustin Dopirak from the Indy Stars with us. Well, as we hit the break, here's Mike Shanahan. I got to talk to him in the locker room post game after Indiana knock off Alabama at the Rose Bowl. Can't even talk about firsts anymore because there's been 3 firsts every week, it seems like now, but you guys continue to climb a mountain that hardly any teams have ever climbed. I mean, to me, this is the greatest story in sports. If you guys can complete this, and there's I don't see a reason you can't, and America it seems is finally going, damn, these guys are for real.
Man, it's just a testament to the work we put in week in and week out. We got a great group of coaches, great group of players that understand what our goal is and how we want to get to it. We're not focused on weeks ahead. We focus in the moment every day. So it was really a testament to how we put that work in every single week.
And I know it was not, but today it looked easy. I mean, everybody was doing their job so well. The offensive line obviously did a fantastic job, but the running game was off the charts. And then when they needed throws, boom, you guys made the great catches on that short, tough third down. I was like, oh my God. But just, it looked easy, but it was just execution.
Yeah, that's really all it was. It was just executing when we needed to. That's something that we preach all the time is executing, staying ahead of the chains, and not turning the ball over. And we were able to do that today. O-line, like you said, did a fantastic job. Without them, we wouldn't have been able to do that. So big shout out to the O-line for what they did today.
That was actually Elijah Surratt, the all-star wide receiver. Dustin, what did you say when we were hitting the break there?
I said Mike Shanahan. I said Norwin High School holler back. Mike went to my high school.
Oh, no kidding. Oh, wow. Did you all know each other?
No, he's well after me. He is significantly younger than me. The first time I heard of Mike Shanahan, I can remember this because he went to I heard of him when I was covering James Madison, which I think is just some interesting irony. And I would make a joke that, Mike, you were obviously following my footsteps. Clearly, you knew there were footsteps for you to follow. Yeah, I'm sure he didn't. But I remember picking up a Sporting News basketball preview magazine and just kind of scrolling in the back for the names of the recruits or whatever. They were highly recruited players. And I saw a Norwood name and it was Mike Shanahan. I was like, what? Okay. And suddenly I kind of called home to be like, who is Mike Shanahan? And he ended up I think it was going into his sophomore year or whatever. And he ended up being a pretty dominant receiver, tight end, and basketball player at Norwood. And then he went to Pitt. And then just everything's kind of gone since then. So I've kind of kept a distant view of what Mike's been up to because, he's an alum and we don't, Norwood's a big school in the Pittsburgh suburbs, but we don't, have a ton of, big time sports alums. We've got some good ones. We had an NFL player in the 70s. But there's only been so many guys that have reached the kind of big time in the way that Mike Shanahan has. So it's been cool to see as a Norwood guy. And I was wondering when you play that audio, I'm like, that doesn't sound like somebody from Norwood. But but that was it has been pretty cool. And I think Zach Osterman did an excellent piece on him last week. And for some reason didn't tell him he knows a guy from Norwood. Zach could have done that, but
I will do that next with Norwood, right?
Norwin.
All right, I'll remember that. We've got to take a break.
Is the reason why it's like that. But yeah.
Back with more right after this.
The ISC Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. The ISC is your one-stop shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC. Local lives here.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's C-O-Y-L-E, to receive a discounted fundraiser. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com.
Mike, you guys just made it look easy today, and I know it wasn't because of who you were playing, and it was simply execution, but that's not simple either, but you guys do it relentlessly.
Yeah, well, the benefit of us having the bye week, and we did get a little bit of a jump start on both teams, but then when we really honed in, we got a lot of reps against, their top 2, 3, 4 things sometimes on defense. And I like to think that would put us in position to have confidence to go out there and execute today. Aside from that, though, I just feel like everything that Coach Signetti preaches, the details in prep, having a firm plan, being committed to it, sticking to what we do well while still trying to attack what we see on tape. So a fine line between that, and then not overthinking it. Not trying to get too cute and just letting our guys go out there and play ball.
Mike Shanahan, Indiana's offensive coordinator. That was post-game from the locker room at the Rose Bowl. Jim Coyle with you on this Monday, joined by, as always, Dustin Dopirak from the Indy Star, the Pacers beat writer, and not a lot to talk about with the Pacers right now. And so they're working on building things for next year, and hopefully, but it is. I will say that, hey man, at least they haven't they don't quit playing. They keep playing, and so and they're professionals, and you got to tip your hat to them. It's very difficult. I got to tell you, it's got to be hard to be. It doesn't matter how good you are, knowing that. Boy, you've got one arm tied behind your back every freaking night out there, and you've got to go out there and fight with 100%. It's hard, but they look like they've done it to me.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, they have had moments where they tend to have a bad quarter every night. They tend to have a bad quarter, and where it just looks like they can't do anything right. And do they have moments within that where it seems like they kind of, they lose some juice? And some of that's a depth issue. I mean, so they go in yesterday, they're getting close to 100% health, but Ben Matherin's now got a sprained right thumb, and apparently that's been an issue that he's been working on, but he's just going to take some time and heal that up. Apparently it's hurt him shooting the ball or whatever. I don't know. But and so like the second units they tend to put out there, there's not a whole lot of scoring punch on there, and it seems to be early in second quarters they tend to fade when they're putting out a mostly sub lineup, and that causes an issue. I mean, I do think their starting five is good enough to win basketball games. Is good enough to win NBA games, at least some of them. I mean, they do have an all-star forward. Pascal Siakam's been fantastic at 34. The other game, they got Aaron Nesmith back. He's really shooting the ball well. Andrew Nembhard. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think you want him to be your starting point guard, but he's certainly been good as the two is kind of a complementary piece to Halliburton over the years. Fantastic defender, and does a lot of, little things well. And I think there's enough talent there, when they have everybody that they shouldn't, they've tied their record, 12 straight losses. That matches a franchise record. They shouldn't have lost 12 games in a row. There's somewhere in there should have been a win. They are being professional about it so far. I do think there's something in the back of their minds at this point that losing's not disastrous. And Pascal Siakam, I think, made a point that it's like, okay, like we'll turn it around when we don't take losing as acceptable. Well, it's tough to not take losing as acceptable when you come to understand like you're not going to the playoffs, and at a certain point when you're not going to the playoffs, you're better off losing. You're better off getting the best potential draft situation. Even if you don't win the lottery, you're guaranteed a top 5 pick if you've got the worst record, and they've got the worst record. So, I mean, like they are going out there, they are giving it a professional effort. They are fighting, but they're good for at least one quarter every night where they get blitzed. And, last night, I mean, they scored 127 last night or yesterday afternoon against the Magic, made that a very interesting, and fun game. But I think they got beat 41-22 in the second quarter, and they're good for one of those almost every night. You know, they tend to have good first quarters. Either the second or third, somewhere in there, they give a big run, find themselves digging out of a hole, dug themselves all the way out of the hole last night. We're down 13, rallied back, got a lead in the fourth quarter, and then promptly gave up like a 9-0 run. And, you know, we're right back in another hole. And so that's been their season, is just stuff like that, you know, all year. And like I said, I kind of separate into three parts. There's the totally excusably bad start to the season when they're not just missing Halliburton, they're missing Nembhard, they're missing McConnell, they're missing Mathurin, they're missing Toppin. And, you know, then right when they get, you know, Nembhard, McConnell, and Mathurin back, they lose Neesmith. And so, but, you know, after that, they go off and they win, you know, 5 out of 10. Looked like a pretty, you know, reasonably good basketball team, and looked like somebody that could win some games. And without really losing anybody new, they go off and they lose 12. So in a row, and still going. You know, it's been close to a month since their last win. December 8th was the last time they won a basketball game. So it is hard to keep, you know, doing that, but you know, there have been wins someplace, and it's difficult to keep the morale right when it's like, okay, at a certain point, you're like, you know what, you know, like no one's getting fired if they don't win another game. You know, Rick Carlisle's not getting fired. Chad Buchanan's not getting fired. You know, like if they have the worst season in Pacers history, nobody's getting fired because it's not the worst thing. You know, like they can get a top 5 pick out of that. They get Halliburton back, and you know they're going to have next year. They're going to go into with championship level expectations, even though it's going to be really tough to get back there because it's going to be tough for Halliburton to immediately become the player he was. It's probably going to take a season of him getting back used to playing basketball. You know, before you see, you know, like usual quality Tyrese Halliburton again. But they're going to have him, and they're going to have Siakam, and, you know, and they'll probably somewhere in there, they got to make a move for a center. I don't know what that looks like, but they're going to have to do it. You're going to add, you know, probably a top 5 pick to this situation. Maybe you lose Mathurin, maybe you don't. But like it's not a world crushing. It's brutal to have to go in and do it every night. And it hurts them on a competitive level. But on the flip side, there's not that fear of, well, if this doesn't work out, we're in trouble. You know, it's almost like if this doesn't work out, it's not the worst thing that ever happened. And so you wonder if there's something in that in the back of their minds that, like, you know, losing is not the worst thing, you know, for this group.
Absolutely. And it's a mental thing.
Yeah.
Now, switching back to Indiana football, now that this transfer portal thing is open while the postseason is going on, but this is not hurting Indiana.
Sure
at
ain't.
all.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's the best way to put it. It sure ain't.
Yeah.
Right now, they've already gotten, no shock, but Josh Hoover, the former Indiana commit quarterback who ended up playing his career at TCU, coming back to Bloomington. And we'll get him on the show at some point. He's the prototypical Kurt Signetti kind of guy because of his character.
Sure.
The reason he doesn't want to come on yet, he doesn't want to take away from anything Indiana's doing. He said, let's wait till they end their season.
That's smart.
I mean,
yeah.
I didn't even think of that. And I'm like, wow, very, very considerate. But
Sure.
That's just the type of guy that they're going to have. But they're getting guys from all over. They're pulling in guys, again, from Notre Dame. You've got a great defensive lineman that has been successful there for 4 years. Wisconsin safety, Preston Zachary. Michigan State wide receiver, Nick Marsh. Kansas State transfer defensive end, Toby Asunami. Jaquan Sanks, the safety from Cincinnati. Turbo Richard, a running back from Boston College, who was very successful, to add to what they have coming back. Great name for a running back, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just looking at the stats now, 749 yards, 5.2 a carry, 9 touchdowns. You'll take that at BC, out of BC. That's, that's a guy that could be very effective that you think in Indiana's situation. Yeah, no, I mean, go ahead.
No, I'm just going to say, just the running backs room we saw this year, how these guys ran, Kalon Black and Roman Hemby and Kobe Martin backing them up. They lost Lee Beebe early, but he's going to be back, as will Kobe Martin be back. Now you add this to there, so their running backs room bam, they're ready to go again. They're reloading on the O-line as well. Obviously reloading at wide receiver, and possibly if Omar Cooper's probably going to get drafted. He has eligibility left, but you've got Charlie Becker still in the fold. Charlie Becker could probably get drafted this year if he went with the performance he's had on the last half of the season.
Yeah, he's made big time the NFL catches, like this. There's not a lot of yards after, but man, I mean, he is big, tall, fantastic hands. How many times has Mendoza just flung one up to him and he's made a massive play?
What's up?
Sorry.
I was going to say, what's up next for you, brother? I know you staying after it.
Yeah. No, we're, going to do some draft stories coming up.
There we go.
Cameron Boozer's coming to town. So not to town, coming to Louisville. So going to go check that out. They've got one home game this week. Then they get a big home stand coming next week. So we'll see a lot of that stuff. But yeah, no, it'll be interesting. Just interesting to see how they keep playing this out. At some point, Rick Carlisle has been stuck on 999 wins for a month, for almost a month. So at some point, the guy's got to get his 1,000th win. That's going to be a story at some point. So yeah, we're still hanging in there.
Well, look forward to it. Make sure you're giving Dustin a follow at the Indy Star. Appreciate you, my friend.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jim.
Absolutely. More coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. And for those of you that do follow on YouTube, hit that like button. It does help us out a ton. But back with more. We'll hear some more post-game action from the locker room at the Rose Bowl once we return to Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after these messages.
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage, and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Monday. Glad to have you along with us. For those of you that made the trip out to Pasadena, you recovered from that jet lag. It took me a day. I'm not going to lie to you, but at least everything's back on the East Coast now, no matter what. Atlanta is up next. The Mercedes-Benz Stadium will be the site of the Peach Bowl and the semifinal matchup between the #1 Indiana Hoosiers and the #5 Oregon Ducks. A Big Ten matchup rematch from a game earlier this season in which the Hoosiers won 30-20 out in Eugene. Scott Dolson, we caught up with him after the game. You know, he's just as happy as can be, as he should be, as things are rolling for Indiana. The things that this does for the university is massive as they continue. They are getting these just hours and hours long blocks of basically infomercials for Indiana. And it's incredible to see. But let's hear what Scott had to say as we caught up with him on the field of the Rose Bowl after Indiana's win.
Up in this program. I mean, you were a student manager under Bob Knight. You've been through, all kinds of administrative levels. What's it like for you to see where this program came from, and then to make that big change 2 years ago to see what you guys have already accomplished?
It means a lot. It really does. And we've had a lot of people who've put a lot of their heart and soul into our football program over the years. I mean, I know a lot of former players, and they've got a lot of pride in this program. And so to see us have this level of success and what it means to everybody. I was at a former player event last night here in LA, and it was amazing to see the former players that showed up and how proud they are to be a part of our program and to see where the program is today. So there's no question it's just extra special, particularly having been here such a long time.
Scott, you know it's not easy to hire people, but man, as you get this right with Curt Cignetti, as you think about today and think about all these IU fans and think about what this program is now, how does that make you feel? Do you want to pinch yourself to see where you guys are right now?
Yeah, I'm so proud of obviously Coach Cignetti and the whole program. And, President Witten has just been amazing. It takes a real alignment for things to happen like this, and it certainly starts with her. She's got a vision for the entire university that certainly wants to excel in everything. And I would never forget my first meeting with her when she said that we need to excel in everything, and that includes football. And so obviously bringing in Coach Sig and seeing what's happened from this point on has been everything we dreamed about and more.
And for you personally, what was it like watching this Rose Bowl, your team dominate a team that's won 18 national championships and have 80% of the fans here?
Oh, it's amazing. But I tell you, AC, coming in on the buses, and I was looking out the window and seeing Hoosier Nation flooding the streets and going crazy. I couldn't believe it. And it was one of the moments I told my wife when I got here, I don't think I'll ever forget the trip into the game. And I just can't thank our fans enough. And I really think it just got the day off to an unbelievable start. I mean, I cannot adequately express to see how many Hoosier fans were lining up the pathway for the buses to come in here. It was unbelievable for me.
There's Scott Dolson, Indiana's athletics director, talking about the incredible sight that he saw of Indiana fans taking over the Rose Bowl, and that is the truth. And I know that we've talked a lot about it, but I don't think that it can be overstated. That the amazing thing of a team like Indiana, and that doesn't really have this gigantic football fan base that's been developed quickly over the last 2 seasons, could do what they did from a fan perspective in the Rose Bowl. But they did, man. And everybody is loving that and hoping that they can continue it now, move forward. You've got to, I know for the team, the fans could keep enjoying that win. The players and the coaches, they're already moved forward. Their eyes are on Oregon and the Peach Bowl, because that's going to be maybe the toughest matchup they've had this season, probably, because you're playing a team for the second time. You're playing probably the second best team in the Big Ten, without question. And it's going to be difficult. It's not going to be easy. But I think Indiana is just simply the better team overall, man. They are. And let's hope that they get it done and can move forward. It's been a fun day as always. Big thanks to the man, Don Fischer. Greg Rakestraw joined us, as well as did Dustin Dopirak. Most importantly, each and every one of you. Can't wait to do it again tomorrow. Gonna have, we've got to travel again this week, so it's going to be, it's going to be a lot going on, but we're going to be here for it. We'll be in Atlanta bringing that coverage to you. We'll have more interviews as the week goes on, that we have more locker room stuff from the Rose Bowl, more interviews overall. We'll hear from Curt Cignetti. We'll hear from Dan Lanning. Gosh, there's so many people. Fernando, so many people to hear from yet. And we look forward to doing all of that. Go out, have yourselves a great day. I'm Jim Coyle. Until tomorrow, I'll see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.